Today is my father's first Hazkara, his first yahrzeit. And so therefore this shiur is, as all of my shiurim, but especially this shiur, is Le'iloi Nishmat Avi Mori Michael Ben Shimon. Now, the Torah as we know it is Hashem's blueprint for creation. As such, one of its main goals is to reveal Hashem's plan to us, which we know is to make the whole world good and holy and a dwelling place for Him, so He can give us Himself, just like we're going to give ourselves to Him, and therefore He can give us the very best good, and He can dwell among us, like we learned last week actually. The book of Bereshit is all about the who of this plan. It tells us about Adam and Noah, and eventually Abraham and his family, chosen to be the ones to fulfill the plan, with a Brit. Then comes the book of Shemot, and this is the where. Where is this home for Hashem? You might think it's in the highest heavens, but no, it's going to be in the lowest world. The key word in the whole book of Shemot is Hashem came down to Har Sinai. The goodness and godliness the Jewish people are meant to bring into the world must take place not in the heavens, but down here in the world itself, the physical world, the mundane physical world. We make a mishkan, and we make it out of physical materials like gold and wood and goat hairs. We make tefillin out of leather, not good intentions. We make matzah out of flour, not faith. Indeed, the book is called Shemot because, as we learned last week, Hashem wants His Shekhinah to dwell within us. And it is our name that causes our holy, godly soul to attach to our physical body. Now, the book of Vayikra is the how. How do we transform this mundane world into godliness? Vayikra is all about the avodah of the Mishkan, the sacrifices, the ketoret, everything like that. Sorech Gavoa. We would witness Hashem's holy fire consume the korbanot and see physicality literally transform into spirituality. And indeed, this would be a lesson for all mitzvot. Every aspect of the world is captured in some mitzvah or another, and when we perform that mitzvah, we elevate that physical category back to its holy source until the whole world becomes a fitting home for Hashem, transparent to godliness, and a dwelling for the Shekhinah. Now, this week's parasha is Bamidbar, the fourth book in Torah Moshe, the Chumash. If Bereshit is the who, and Shemot is the where, and Vayikra is the how, what is Bamidbar? Bamidbar is the when of the plan, when the world appears to be a desert. We do know the plan by now, but we need an update of how we are doing. The world is seemingly a desert. Is the world really getting better? I mean, for most of the history of the world, it has looked like a desert, and whenever we think that it is starting to sprout, it gets worse again. For example, we really thought there would never be any more anti-Semitism after the Holocaust, but we were wrong. It seems like the world is a terrible place, and if you only watch the news, you'll think it's getting worse, not better. This is not true. The bad burns off, it's never permanent, but it's the good that is eternal. Bamidbar opens with Hashem counting us. He counts us again and again, and we know from the commentaries that this is an act of love, like someone counting his precious diamonds. This is something we need to know now when we're in the desert. It's easy to be discouraged, to think that we failed Hashem and He's abandoned us. But no, in the desert, Hashem counts us, and indeed counts on us. He put His plan in our hands, even and especially in the desert, and it's our job to get it done. Rashi tells us that Hashem instructs Moshe to go from tent to tent to count everyone. And even though it's not for Moshe to go into each tent, Hashem will tell him how many are in each tent. This personal devotion that every single Jew, man, woman, child, and even babies, not only tells us a lot about Hashem, but also tells us how this job of making the world godly is something we all are necessary for. It's not just the job of tzaddikim or people of influence. Even the most uninfluential people have a job to do, and it's equally important. It's easy to marvel at how horrible the world is and feel paralyzed and useless and feel like unless we can do something huge, like start a revolution, we can't expect any meaningful change. This week's parasha is telling us that this is not so. We don't need to start a revolution or cause a big global change. Instead of just sitting there marveling at the evil, we must get up and do some good, a little or a lot. It doesn't matter. Just get on with it. in whatever sphere of influence of the world Hashem has put us in charge of. Even if it's just a very small thing, doing one small mitzvah, one extra effort in learning, or tefillah, or making just one person smile. It's all necessary and our responsibility. No matter who we are all able to bring goodness and godliness to the world, and it's upon all of us to finish the plan. Perhaps we learn this from the service of the Leviim. They are the caretakers and the guardians of the Mishkan and the Beit HaMikdash. It's interesting to note that one has to be born a Kohen to perform the avodah in the Beit HaMikdash, and people who are born Leviim are drafted to do their job. However, when it comes to the job of the Leviim, everyone is allowed to volunteer. In fact, we are encouraged to volunteer. While it is true that some jobs are left to the Tzaddikim, the Rebbeim and the Moshes and even the Mashiach, every Jew is expected to do their part and indeed volunteer to do even more than just their basic job. The Leviim, for example, would sing in the Beit HaMikdash during the avodah, ensuring everyone was inspired to perform the avodah with heart and to generally keep the atmosphere godly and holy. So if a person can sing and inspire, then they should volunteer to sing and inspire as part of their service for Hashem to make the world a holier, more godly place. Any talents we have, we should find a way we can use them for the goodness, for extra goodness, and bring that to every facet of our lives and inspire others. Like we said, it's this lowest world that this transformation of godliness must take place in. Not in the heavens, but here, in the everyday. Every small facet of our lives, every mundane activity or object can and should be used to serve Hashem and be transformed into goodness. What was so great about Avraham? It wasn't the 10 tests that he passed like the Akedah. It wasn't anything incredible that he did. What was so special about it was that every little thing that he did, just the way he ate, just the way he tied his shoe, he always paused and thought, how would Hashem want me to do this? One more story I want to say, which is in the Gemara, but it also happened with the Baal Shem Tov, something very similar. It was Yom Kippur, and everybody in the Baal Shem Tov shul was davening with a lot of heart, a lot of very holy people there. Through the services, somebody came in. It was a young boy, a young illiterate boy, a pauper, and because he was illiterate, he didn't know how to daven, but he still wanted to serve Hashem. So he said, I do know one thing. I know how to say the Aleph Bet. So he sat there and heartfelt said Aleph Bet Gimel Dalet, and he said the whole alphabet, and then he did it again and again and again until somebody stood up and said, this is not right. This is not how you pray on Yom Kippur. Can you please stop and leave? You're not worthy to be here. This is a very holy shul. And the Baal Shem Tov said something amazing. He said, actually, you should know that the prayers of this boy are the most beloved to Hashem out of all the prayers in the shul, even mine. Everything we can do for Hashem, small or great, is necessary. Nobody should ever feel uninspired or feel like that they have to wait for an opportunity to do something grand. Nobody should just sit there paralyzed, waiting for the Mashiach to come. It's in our hands to bring him. We can all do it, and every little thing makes a difference. Shabbat Shalom.